Well, g'day. We are back for another chat with Rob from the Doctor Who show. This is Big Finish from the beginning. He's doing the great journey of life, as you could call it, in terms of the Big Finish monthly range. How's it? You've got the old lockdown beard going too. So is that affecting your Big Finish listening at all, the lockdown?
It is actually in quite a weird way. I listen to audio less when I'm stuck at home than when I'm out and about. I know it's the opposite for most people, but for me it's actually the inverse of that.
So do you listen at the office or in the car?
In the car, or if I'm driving, or on the train if I'm commuting. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're having a look at stories 21 to 30 today. And I might start from you haven't actually given your favourites. You've given some standouts.
Yes.
But might start from the bottom and work our way up your list, shall
What's
we?
new? Okay.
I thought the whole point he was making was there wasn't a bottom in this 10.
Well, it's at the bottom of what's written on my list in front of me. So we'll go with that.
Okay.
There's not that there's any order. I'm starting from the bottom of my list.
Yes,
So let's start with
No,
an
I
interesting.
think actually just tell us about your list, Rob. What is the order you've done them in, just so we do know?
The full order? The full 10?
Yeah, the full 10.
Okay, in order of preference, we're going to talk about The One Doctor, The Chimes of Midnight, Project Twilight, The Eye of the Scorpion, Seasons of Fear. They're the top 5. And then the bottom 5, which I still think are pretty good, are Dust Breeding, Blood Tide, Primeval, Invaders from Mars, and Colditz.
Okay, so you have ranked them 1 to 10. That's your 1 to 10
That's
list?
that's my 1 to 10, and the first 5 I think are quite good.
Quite good. Okay, let's not get too rapturous about that, Rob. That's good. Okay, thank you, Dwayne.
Okay, Colditz. Colditz is an interesting one. The first appearance of David Tennant in a Big Finish story. Apart from no, I think this is before Dalek Empire 3.
It is.
So David Tennant didn't even sway your opinion on this one?
He doesn't really stand out to me as David Tennant, I've got to
Right.
say.
Didn't pick him?
No, not at all.
Okay. So yeah, he's got the German accent down pat then.
I have heard that he's in it, but it doesn't sort of stand out like, oh, there's Dave. Isn't this great? No.
Yeah, no, he's a pretty evil German in there.
Not a fan of alternate history stories at all, or is there anything else that?
I don't mind a good alternate history story. It just, when I look at the 10, it just sort of naturally falls towards the bottom. Well, indeed, the bottom.
I think Rob is saying all these 10 are all good. It's just that he had to put them in some order, and Code is what he's putting last. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll be going back and looking more of what happens out of this situation later. Are you aware that we come to do some more work from Codex in another 10 years' time?
I know there's something going on, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, great.
Got that to look forward to. All right, Mark Addis, Invaders from Mars. So that's an interesting take on the Orson Welles story from the 30s. Are you generally a fan of Mark Gatiss' writing in the TV series?
It's very Marmite. It's very hit and miss for me. You could toss a coin, really, on his stories for me. And there are some I will go into bat for, absolutely. I will go into bat for the Crimson Terror. I will go into bat for the Unquiet Dead. Others, I'll say, ooh, I don't like that at all.
Let's have a look at Primeval. Primeval is a return to where Nissa came from, which is... I can't remember what...
Trucken.
How could I forget? There's an interesting first in this one. I think this is we may think that Spare Parts coming up down the track is the first return of a cast member to Big Finish from Blake Seven. But this one actually is someone from Big Finish. Stephen Greif is in this one as one of the cast members. So I don't know did you pick up that Stephen was in this one?
No. Later I did looking at the cast, but as a voice, no, didn't pick it at all.
So Primeval, written by Lance Parkin, who'd also written a lot of novels too. So were you a novel reader?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Lance wrote things like The Infinity Doctors, which is one of those novels that everyone tries to read now, and it subsequently costs about $50 if you go and find it on eBay and things like this. Lance wrote a lot of sort of high concept novels, and also some sort of coffee table type books as well, with Did he write The History of the Universe or something in Doctor Who? Something like that. He wrote a book along those lines. Yeah, so I'm familiar with Lance's work. And I liked going back to Traken here. I thought that was very interesting to go back. It's like about 1,000 years before or something.
That's right.
When Nyssa had first come on board. I quite liked that. I thought it was interesting. Still not a top story, though, but still not bad, you know?
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on Primeval, Philip?
I must admit, I haven't heard Primeval for a very long time. I was sitting thinking, I'm going to go back and listen to that again. I do. It's the start of the Keep of the Flame and things, isn't it? That's the very beginning of that whole culture, I think. Is that the start
the
of it?
Keeper. It's before the Keeper starts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the Keeper starts. Okay. No, I need to, that's what I actually look at this whole list. That would be the one I could talk about least.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the next one up on the list, and that's Dust Breeding. So, Dust Breeding, first appearance of Jeffrey Beavers as the Master. What were your thoughts on his portrayal coming back?
Well, this was one I had heard in the past, so this was one I was coming back to and knowing that it was the Master. But I remember the first time I heard it, I didn't pick it until the reveal. And I thought, oh, he is playing the Master. Oh, fantastic. Because that is a very distinctive voice to me. I was very happy with this. I love the way they sort of use art in the story, and Munch's scream in particular. The planet itself, really, really good. You know, this fear that this old guy has that there's a Dalek ship crashed under the planet, if I recall the story. I thought this was great.
And these were back in the days when Gary Russell had said they're not doing recasting, so they were bringing back cast members from pre-Davison era. Mm-hmm. So this is Carolyn John's first appearance in a Big Finish audio. So playing a very, very different character to Liz Shaw, wouldn't she?
Again, a voice I didn't pick up on at the time, and which I subsequently realised.
The whole brilliance of this story was the fact that they hid the fact that the Master was coming back, which is why it was so clever. And they did it, I think, it's interesting because Caroline John was in this. So all the pre-release stuff of this audio was the fact that Caroline John was coming back to do a Big Finish. And so the whole focus was on her. So the fact that Jeffrey Beavers was in the cast just didn't matter. It was just the fact that, because Jeffrey Beavers is her husband. And so the fact that she was doing the audio, and it's just like, he's coming on to do a bit of a part two because, they work together as husband and wife. That made perfect sense. And in fact, it was interesting. I actually spent some time with I met them both in London. They were doing a convention together. And I actually chatted to them about this. And the whole thing was set up beautifully by Gary and them. And the way she just projected herself as the main character and the reason why it was coming back, and he was just there to support. And so when that twist happened, I remember I was standing in my kitchen in Springwood when that final episode happened, and I went, what? And then had to rewind and listen to the last few minutes again because it just totally threw me. It was one of the best, probably the best reveal of the Master I think there's ever been. And of course, I think it's Mr. Sito too. So I mean, the whole his name's actually there. The Master's there, his name. But once again, the anagram, I'd missed it all. It was very cleverly done. Best reveal I think the Master maybe ever.
It was very good.
So going up the list, one of your standouts was Seasons of Fear. This is a joint script by Paul Cornell and Carolyn Simcox, husband and wife team. I think it might be the only one they've done. They've done many separate ones, or Carolyn Simcox has done a couple of separate ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Now, I recall when I first heard this, how blown away I was by the reveal of the classic monster. Did you feel the same, Rob?
Well, I've got to say, my memories of this were very hazy, because again, this was one I'd heard back in the day because I'd been collecting the Eighth Doctor stuff back in the day and listening to that, so as we go through the Eighth Doctor stories on this great journey, I've heard most of them up to a certain point. And my overriding memory was the name Grail, and knowing that this character Grail was in it. I'd forgotten that he was all through history, though, which was quite interesting to me. That was my biggest takeaway from it initially, as I was going through the story. I've got to say,
yeah, I really liked the sound design around the story of taking Charlie back to Singapore. I really loved that setting as well. So because she was getting taken back there to see
meet a boyfriend.
Meet a boyfriend.
A boy she'd met somewhere. And that links up with Storm Warning at the very beginning, because she's on. The reason why she hitches a ride is because she's heading for Singapore to meet a boy she met, who she will meet.
The sounds in there really reminded me of my visits to Asia too, so I thought that was really well done. But what about the classic monster? I never like to spoil this one because if anyone hasn't heard it, there's no real indication on the cover of who it is. So I never like to say who the classic monster is, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, if we can't spoil it for people, it's a classic monster from a story that's not very well regarded. Can we say that?
Well, you have.
Yeah.
So it comes across better than the original, I think, because I don't think that original story is very well regarded at all. Aside from people who want to be contrary.
As a fan of Big Finish, I should say, that's a hallmark of theirs, is that they can bring these stories that are quite not so highly regarded by fans and just raise them up to a good level of drama and a story that's really, really enjoyable and, dare I say, more serious. Okay.
Absolutely.
Eye of the Scorpion by Ian McLaughlin.
I love this.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
go on.
Tell us why.
Well, it's Davo. Come on, it's Davo. It feels very traditional to me. They're in ancient Egypt. The threat is there in ancient Egypt. And it's introducing Aramem, who's a character I had heard in later Fifth Doctor adventures, because as I've said in past episodes here, I have heard later Fifth Doctor adventures, and he'd be with Aramem, and I think, well, how did Aramem come along? And here we get to see how Aramem comes along with him, which I thought was quite good too. So the traditional nature of it, the ancient Egypt setting, I've always been a sucker for ancient Egypt since I was a kid. Bringing on Aramem, it just felt quite solid, you know, and there was some nice nods to actual Egyptian customs. I think at one point everyone got naked or something. It's been a little while since I've listened to it, but there was an orgy, wasn't there? Am I misremembering? I think there was.
It's been a while since I've heard it too, but I vaguely recall something like that.
I think there was an orgy, and Perry was commenting on it to the Doctor, and I thought, this is quite good. This is fun.
I think the thing I like is the fact it's a traditional historical.
Yes.
There's nothing else except the history there. And just to tap it off, the Doctor's missing for a whole episode. He gets knocked out unconscious then as a cliffhanger and doesn't wake up again till a whole episode later. Just like the old Hartnell episodes where the Doctor gets an episode off for holiday. I thought that was there. It amused me.
Whereas recording an audio, you don't go on holiday for a week. You go on an extra lunch for 2 hours or something. All right. So if we go up the line, let's have a look at Project Twilight. Now, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about this one because this was a big standout for me personally. So your thoughts on Project Twilight?
Loved it, and didn't see the twist coming, even though it's there in the title. in a manner of speaking.
I think at the time, Twilight was huge, wasn't it? So it was sort of playing on pop culture of the time.
It must have been, you know.
I think it's about 10 years before that.
Is it really?
I think so. This is very early times. This is before Twilight would have been out in the book.
Well, there you go. But I did not see the twist coming. But the setting I thought was great. Just that modern London setting. Colin off getting Chinese meals. I thought this is great. I can picture Colin doing that. And I liked the voices in these sort of like East End accents and things like that. Sometimes the accents in Big Finish feel very affected and put on. But here it felt very naturalistic. It was like I was watching an episode of The Bill or something. And it all came together for me. All felt very believable. I thought this is really good stuff. And again, Sixth Doctor and Evelyn. And
introduction of another organisation for the Doctor Who universe.
So I hear.
Is that not mentioned in the story?
The Forge is mentioned, but it doesn't know it comes back again yet.
Right. So the Forge...
This is the first story of the Forge.
Yeah.
I know it becomes a thing because I heard it on one of your interviews with a guest a month or two back. But I've not heard any more audio where it's a thing, so... Yeah, it's all in my future.
Is it good things that he's got to look forward to, Philip?
Oh, yeah, I love the Forge. It's amazing. Once again, one of the things we lost Gary was more Forge. Though I heard Nick Briggs talking he was just talking recently on one of the podcasts, and he's thinking about bringing them back. So we'll see whether the Forge returns.
They are a sensational idea. So I'd be very interested in that. And the Forge goes through the monthly range for the next 100 or so. So they'll pop up every now and then. You'll get a taste of them.
Fabulous.
So yeah, you've got that to look forward to. And there's also another connection there that begins here that also there's an arc that starts here that sort of flows over to the Seventh Doctor as well, much later on. So you'll be remembering Project. Yeah, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but you'll be remembering back to this story in about 40 stories time, something like that.
Okay.
Let's go up another story to, what do we got next? Chimes of Midnight.
Yes.
Everybody loves Chimes of Midnight. Have we heard it too much yet?
Along with Spare Parts, I think this is another one that Big Finish listeners just name check all the time, and with good reason. It's a great story, absolutely. Yep. But as I've argued with Philip on Twitter before, I think it gets a little too much praise. Just a little bit too much praise.
Tell us why.
Because I think there are stories that are as good as it, but they don't get anywhere near the same recognition as it, and that annoys me. It's a great story, but it's not this much. I've got my arms out wide so you can't see. It's not this much better than a lot of other stories that people never talk about at all. It's one of these ones where the name has just caught on and zoom, off it goes. The Christmas setting, perhaps, because every year Christmas comes and everyone will talk about it at Christmas and all that sort of stuff. I get why, because it's a good story and there are some sort of ancillary details like that. But I couldn't put it number one.
Okay. Philip, can we ever listen to this one too much?
I don't think you listen too much. But it's interesting what Rob's saying in terms of what is it that, as Doctor Who fans, certain shows get put in a status beyond others when they may not be that good. And there's TV shows the same way, aren't they? So really not quite sure what's going on there. But I think Chimes of Midnight, it's got a reputation, which it deserves. But I think you're right. There's so much. I mean, just in this we talk about today, so many surprises, so many shocks in there, so many clever things that are happening. This in many ways is part of the whole golden period. There's 2 or 3 years where nearly everything they touch is gold.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. But your number one has a 1 in the title. That's the One Doctor. Gareth Roberts and Clayton Hickman. Give us your thoughts about this one. I was looking at the cover of that and I thought, oh boy, doesn't Christopher Biggins look thin on the cover there? Because I usually remember him for my Claudius. But give us your thoughts on that one. And why have you picked it as number 1? A comedy.
Yeah, I mean, this is Big Finish does funny, so it's different and it's just a delight. And I had to look it up. This is 7 years before David Tennant and David Morrissey get on screen in The Next Doctor. Here we have Colin doing essentially the same thing, coming across someone who thinks or is pretending that they're the Doctor and they've just saved a planet. And you think, what on earth is going on? And then it all unravels and it's very funny. It's just so different to everything else here. I think that's why mainly I give it the number 1 spot. It just has that little difference that makes all the difference.
And this was the Christmas special for the year. Because Chimes of Midnight didn't come out anywhere near Christmas. I think it was April or May. Whereas this one was released as the Christmas special. So they felt because it's December, it could be light-hearted and silly, and fans would accept it. There's a similar one done a year later, which is Bang Bang a Boom, which we'll talk about next time we speak to you.
Well, we will indeed.
So Matt Lucas appeared in this one too. Did you notice that?
I did not, no.
He was the Jelloid. So he did the Jelloid song.
Fabulous.
So many years before he would end up in the TV show. So yeah, a great bunch of 10, and there's no real stinkers in there, is there?
No, I don't think so. Even when you go back to the bottom with Colditz, I still enjoyed Colditz. I thought there was a really interesting story going on there. It's just not as good as The One Doctor or The Chimes of Midnight or Project Twilight, for example.
Very good. Thanks very much for your thoughts this time. We'll be back again very soon.
Bye for now.